It's one of the most harrowing sounds I think I've ever heard. Someone screaming for their life and needing help. What would you do? Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Baltimore County, Maryland.
Palm pepper spray is next generation OC spray. It's hot at 1.4% major capsaicinoids, and its modular design means you can customize it exactly to you. 3 different setups, lots of different color combinations. You can make it exactly as you like. And the flip top safety prevents accidental discharges. It's 10 to 12 foot range and 25 half-second blasts. Make sure that you can keep that long range eye poke at long range. I trust Palm OC and I recommend it for everyone for self-defense.
It's late at night. Police are called here to a domestic violence incident. This couple is known to police. They've had multiple incidences. Apparently, according to the news story, she has filed for divorce. She has a domestic violence restraining order against him. He had been ordered to give up his firearms in that. Let's listen in on the badge cams.
827 out. 20,000. Shots fired, shots fired. Shots fired. You tell me what happened. You tell Court. Shots fired. Direct on that, or officer, okay? I can't tell. Number back start. 809. Eight, 2 down. I jumped off the porch. No. Shots.
the ground! Drop the weapon! Reloading!
Where is he?
He's on the porch! I need somebody on the rear!
I have rifle. Where is he? What
He's on the porch right in front of our car. Blue house. No! Get on the ground! Get down! Gosh darn it! Where's Chris? Chris! Are you good? A13. We got a victim at the front door. The subject's not complying. We can't see him. There's rugs in front of the porch, but he is still on the front porch. I need units to the rear, which would be the south. I need a rifle up by me. If somebody can come up to me, they can make their way up to me.
We have an officer here who is a support officer, not one of the ones who had discharged his firearms, and they are going to come up and find the guy on his porch, going to take him into custody, going to go into the house, and unfortunately, the woman inside who had screamed and begged for help did not make it through this one. The man who had caused all this carnage, he did not make it either. He took the porch temperature challenge. No officer was harmed in this one, and we got a lot to talk about in it.
Somewhat, Mike, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, and when you sent me that video to review before we did it, I watched it once and I really never ever wanted to watch it again.
I just want to say at the outset of this one that, you know, domestics are obviously the most dangerous ones, calls that officers go to. You go to a domestic, you are walking right into a giant crap bag every time. Secondarily as well, obviously, this man had been ordered to turn in his firearms because of his violence towards his wife. I want us all to recognize that piece of paper does nothing, and it doesn't enforce itself. And I've seen this happen, and I see it primarily happen with ladies who are the subject of violence by men in their lives like this. And this is why we say, ladies, you've got to be responsible for your own safety. I'm not saying domestic violence doesn't happen the other way. I'm saying when I see evil like this rise to this level, it is very often men perpetrating it. So ladies, please don't wait until this point. Get out.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, John. If you're either half of the situation, if you are the aggressive half who's having a problem controlling yourself, you need to get help. You need to have someone help straighten you out and get you the help that you need. Evidently, he went to anger management classes, and that obviously didn't take. If you're the half that's being victimized, usually the female half, but not always. If you're the half being victimized, it really is on you. The police are literally minutes away when something like this is happening. And unfortunately, as we see from this video, even getting the police there in time is no guarantee of safety. And this video really bothered me, John, when you showed it to me, and it bothers me again today.
It bothers me on every level. So, you know, when he comes up here, he hears what's going on inside. And you know, Mike, we talk about attitude being the fundamental part of self-defense and in law enforcement here as well. And he hears her screaming for help from inside the house, and yet he's just going to come up here and kind of hesitate and like, oh no, what do I do? To me, he has all the exigency in the world that I know I've got domestic going on here. She's screaming for help, and yet I'm just going to kind of knock on the door and stand right in front of the door and wait and see what happens. I just don't know what to make of this, because it seems to me a failure of initiative of colossal proportions.
If Uvalde, Texas, the school shooting there taught us anything, it's that as a law enforcement officer, there is, in fact, a level of bravery that you need to possess. You need to possess a level of bravery above and beyond that of the average person. And that sometimes will mean, despite the old adage that the most important thing is going home at the end of our shift, which I'm glad is going away. Can't go away fast enough for me, frankly. That means sometimes you're going to have to literally put your life in immediate jeopardy to save the life or prevent injury to an innocent third party. In this case, this officer evidently never had that conversation with himself prior to this. Can I do this job? Can I pull the trigger if I have to? Can I walk into a place that's very, very dangerous, potentially without backup, to save the life of another person? That is a conversation every officer you have to have with yourself. Now, if you're watching this in training, some deputy or a police officer somewhere, and you know this is you, you already know that you just don't have that gene, you don't have that thing that it takes to walk through a door like this and try to save a person, try to handle business. Heck, if you're a fireman who isn't sure they can walk into a burning building to save someone, if you know that already, do everyone a favor and do yourself a favor and find another line of work. There's no shame in it. Not everyone is cut out for this. I don't think this officer was cut out for this at all. And this is just one of the worst things I've seen in a long time.
I really say this with utmost respect, that some people are made to be 911 and some people are made to call 911. And I think that this man here, okay, guy comes out, he gets a couple shots on him. Okay, he gets something towards his way. This guy's trying to kill you. And you got to decide, either you're going to be the hunter or you're going to be the rabbit. Now, if you're a private citizen and I'm a private citizen, you want to break contact here. But if that's my mom, if that's somebody that I love that's inside, I'm not breaking contact. I'm getting in there. You're a law enforcement officer. You got to stop this threat and save innocent life. The life of the innocent is your highest priority. And instead, he kind of hangs out. Now, Mike, if circumstances are different and we know it's just a guy inside by himself, he doesn't have hostages, he's not actively killing people, then maybe pulling away, talking to the guy, sit, wait, and talk, fine. But in this case, when people's lives are at stake, you got to have the mental fortitude to engage.
Agreed on that. If that were the scenario, if it were just some guy in a room or some guy in a building threatening to shoot you, I think the right thing to do is 100% to back off, set a perimeter, call SWAT. They can fill the place with, with tear gas and do the surround and call out and all that sort of thing. That's great. But, that's not what was happening. I don't mean to infer that's what you say was happening, John. I know you know better. But what was happening was a woman was being brutally murdered behind that door. And I don't know what all this performative stuff is that's going on now with the heavy breathing and stuff, the indecision. This guy just vapor locked, and you can't do that as a law enforcement officer. You're there to protect people who can't protect themselves. And in this case, that person was in that room and behind the door. So, yeah, anyway.
Now, second officer here, at least he's engaging. He's trying to engage this guy. That's great. What he's doing, we call prairie dogging, where he's just in the same spot again and again, popping up, shoot a few shots, pop down, pop up, shoot a few shots, pop down. Listen, there's a technique here. You got to come up in a different spot than when you first got. You got to move and not be where he expects you to be the second time. Number two, again, initiative, right? Are you the hunter or are you the rabbit? Are you trying to avoid him or are you trying to engage and put him down? And that mindset difference and the technique of not just popping up in the same spot every single time can keep you from getting killed in a gunfight. And I understand why officers might tend to do this, but you got to fight that urge.
100%. This is something that can be, at least partially, can be trained out of you by just doing really, really good force-on-force training in your quarterly or annual training. So if all your agency is doing is having you go to a square range and put, 25 rounds or 50 rounds through a paper target, that turns and they count the holes and then, okay, you're good to go to hit the street with a gun. They're not serving you properly. You need to go out and get that extra training. And some of that training should be force on force where we have, some kind of sim gun and we have dynamic environments. We have rooms and doors and windows and walls, and we have things like cars that we're shooting around. And the instructor will see you popping up in the same spot and he'll be like, hey, Bobby, hey, Frank, move a little bit, move to the side of the car this time, move up by the hood or something so that you're not a sitting duck. Because if that guy were paying any attention, by the third time he popped up in the same spot, he could have domed the officer and he would have been out of the fight.
Yeah, now listen, we're going to stop here for just a second as our third officer gets his AR-15 out and starts to try to engage it. This part of this video makes me so mad, I don't even know what to do. Because what's going on here, what you're going to see is an officer who has a closed bolt and is trying to load a magazine, which I'm going to guess is a 30-round magazine that's loaded completely full, hasn't stripped the 2 off of it or whatever, and now he's not able to get it to lock on a closed bolt. He's not able to get the magazine fully inserted. Therefore, the charging handle is not going to work as it's advertised. His bolt's not going to strip off a round off the top. The magazine's going to fall out. This is a basic failure to understand how the AR-15 pattern rifle works. And if you don't understand how this rifle works, leave it at home. It does you no good to fumble fuck with your rifle. And I know I said big words, I'm sorry, earmuffs on everyone, but this just makes me mad because people are dying here, Mike.
Yeah, this is something that I can't add anything to what you just said. What I can say is If during your quarterly or whatever training you're doing with your long gun, almost always it's an AR pattern rifle, right, for U.S. law enforcement. So 99 times out of 100, this is what we're talking about. If you're not sure, if you have a problem manipulating the weapon, it's one thing to be able to shoot it when it's all ready to go in good condition. But for example, if you don't know, if no one taught you, hey, strip off the first 2 rounds, it's a 28-round magazine, not a 30-round magazine when you think about it. If no one's trained you to do this stuff, then you're not going to know, and you don't know what you don't know. So as a firearms instructor, you need to make sure you walk people through this. Not even that. How do I break it down and clean it? Have I cleaned it? Do I know when to transition on my pistol? Do I know when a long gun is appropriate or not appropriate? But just basic weapons handling and manipulation skills are important. Here's why. Here's your mental rep. Make sure you know how to load and unload that gun.
Make sure you know how to use it. Make sure that you know every bit of the manual of arms and how to do that in low light situations. So critically important. And listen, every training officer needs to do that. Every officer who has a patrol carbine, you need to know this stuff. All your 30-round magazines honestly should be loaded to 28 for exactly this reason. And they should absolutely know how to use every bit of manual of arms to clear a malfunction, to load the rifle completely, and to use it adequately. And if you don't, you need to leave your patrol carbine at home because people are dying.
All right, John, one last thing about this. A lot of people will say that we're being too hard, that we haven't been there and done that. Listen, I have been there and done that. I have been shot at. I've run into buildings where people were actively shooting. I've done all those things. And I can say with absolute certainty that as a police officer, I don't care if you're state, local, fed, I don't care if you're some kind of special police in Washington, D.C. or what you are, if you carry a badge and a gun, I understand that the Supreme Court has said there's no duty for you to act. There's no duty for you to put your life on the line to protect life and property. Property is a separate issue. But to protect life, you have to get rid of that entirely, lose that whole perception that your safety is paramount and that going home at the end of the day is the most important thing. The most important thing for you to do is to save lives, is to protect innocent human lives. And here that did not happen. Folks, make no mistake, this was a failure and we have to do better. We have to have that conversation with ourselves and help to cover everyone's ASP.